Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Apologies for the delay. We've been having a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get our presenters on, but at this point, I think we'll start. And my name is Deanna Wilmshurst, and I am the producer of the event. I am going to just run you through a bit of the housekeeping, and hopefully our presenters will be able to get online and get their audio online. They are online, and when we get to the meat of their presentation. Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to have a look at is if you do require the closed captioning, there is a closed captioning button at the bottom, and you as a participant must turn on your own closed captioning. And if you'd like to access that, just have a look at the very bottom, press the CC button at the bottom of your screen to turn on the closed captioning. There may be a slight delay before the captioning appears. Right, the next thing you want to have a look at is please note that this session is being recorded and it will be posted to the Shape Your City website. You may leave the question and answer at any time, and if you wish to click the leave button if you want to leave the session if you're not comfortable with it being recorded. And if you want to ask a question, at the very bottom of your page is a little ask a question button, and you use this button to ask a question. You can post questions and or comments in this chat at any point during the meeting, and questions will be answered after the presentation, but you're welcome to put your question in there at any point in time. And if you would like your name to be on the public record, you can post your first and last name with your question. If you do not want your name to be part of the public record, you may post anonymously or provide a nickname or just your first name. It's entirely up to you how you want to proceed. You type your question into the box that states ask a question. So now I'm hoping our folks are back on because we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this presentation. Today is how to ride transit, and we've got Chris Saunier and Dave Boudreau to run you through that. And I see them on the screen, but I do not hear them yet. So I am going to start their presentation, and hopefully they'll be able to join us when they're ready. So planning your trip. If you're planning to take the bus, if you're a new user or an experienced user, you're going to really rely on your route maps and schedules. They are so important to know where the buses are going and where your schedules are. We're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to talk a bit about the apps that are available for transit. We have Google Maps, Apple Maps, and a transit app. And then you can always, if you don't have access to that, can always call 311 or 902-480-8000. So we've got for our route maps and schedules, our route map provides a visual plan of the network. And we've got a rider guide, a printed rider's guide that is available, and that provides schedules for all the routes. All of this information is also online, but if you need to get a hard copy of that in your hand, they're available at bus terminals, customer service centers, the public library, or as I said, online at halifax.ca/routes and schedules. So if you visit halifax.ca/how-to-ride-transit, you can get more information on how to read and use these maps and schedules. Here's an example of the route map. I know it looks a little daunting, but if you scroll in on the section that you're looking for or the place where you're going, you can see that it shows you where what buses are in the area that you want to be. And that's all color coded. So it's very, very helpful. So that is online as well as there is a printed map. Here's an example of what the schedules look like. So you've got both ways the bus goes. If it's going to the end or going from the beginning. You can see what the times are, when it will be there, and spots along the way. The transit apps that we have available at the moment are one that's online called Transit app, and you can download that from any app store. We've also got Google Maps or Apple Maps. The Transit app, the pro for the Transit app is it's built for transit. It does use information that Transit provides. It is a third-party app, but Transit provides that information to them. So that's fantastic. It's all on time. It's very timely, but the con is that some of the features need to be paid for, and that's just a recent addition to that app. Google Maps, however, is entirely free, and you can put in your location, where you're going to, where you're starting, where you want to go, but it's not quite as simple as the Transit app, although it is very user-friendly and easy to use. Then we see for iPhone users, there is Apple Maps, and it's familiar for iPhone users, but it doesn't pull the direct data from Transit, so sometimes the timing is a little less accurate. We also want to have a little look here and show you what the bus and stop signage looks like. So at each stop, there is a sign that shows the buses and the numbers of the buses that stop at that site. The route numbers are the small numbers there, and then at the bottom is the bus stop number, and that's the number that you would use if you were calling about departure times to 311, or if you wanted to look at halifax.ca/transit. So now we're going to talk a little bit about fares, tickets, passes, and transfers. And there is a cash fare for the bus. Adults on the bus are considered adults are ages 18 to 64, and the cash fare for that is $2.75 for regular access bus and ferry. And for our express routes, the 320, the 330, and the 370, the price for that is $4.25. A little bit more because they're going on the highways. They're a little bit longer distance that they're traveling. So we've also then got youth. Youth is 13 to 17, and seniors are 65 plus, and so they all kind of fall into the same place. And it's $2 for regular link and accessibus and ferry, and $3 for the routes 320, 370, and 330. And unfortunately, it is exact change only. You need to have the exact change. So it looks like we're still having a little bit of trouble. We're going to try something else to get our presenters back on track. I'm going to hand you over to Eliza, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about the tickets while I try to get another computer on here so that they can participate. So Eliza, you are welcome to take over. Please feel free.
Thank you, Deanna. So as Deanna mentioned, one of the ways that you can pay for your transit fare is to use tickets. So we have single tickets available, and so usually those are just purchased by providing cash fare when you board the ferry or board the bus. So those are $2.75 if you're paying in cash when you're getting on transit, or for youth and seniors, it's $2. However, you can purchase 10 ticket packs, and you do get a little bit of cost savings when you purchase those ticket packs. So for the adult tickets, it's $24.75, and for the youth senior price, it's $18. So these tickets, you can typically purchase them at most grocery stores and pharmacies. So at stores like Sobeys, Superstore, Shoppers Drug Mart, Lawtons. There's also some stores at like at the Halifax or Alderney Ferry Terminal where they have tickets available as well. So you do have to visit a location in order to purchase tickets. And next slide, please, Deanna. Transfers are also available. So usually when you go to get on the bus or get on the ferry, the operator can offer you a transfer. So you must ask the operator for a transfer, but some operators will just kind of hand them out whether you ask for one or not. When you make your when you either give them your ticket or your cash fare, they'll hand you these transfers, and the transfers are good for 90 minutes. So you can use these transfers to change between different types of transit. So if you're taking the ferry across the harbor and then you want to get on a bus on the other side, or if you're switching between two transit routes, these transfers are really helpful, so you can kind of go further by bus or go further by transit without having to pay twice for your ride. If you want to use the regional express services, there is an additional fare that you have to pay on top of your transfer. And I should also mention that these transfers are good for excessive bus rides as well. So usually on the transfer itself, and we have a diagram of it there on the right-hand side, the operator, there will be punch marks on the transfer that will say what date the transfer is good for, as well as the month. And then at the bottom, it'll be ripped off to show what time the transfer is good until. So kind of when your 90 minutes ends for your transfer. Great. So it is also possible to purchase monthly passes. So these are available beginning on the 20th of each month until the 10th of the following month. So if, for example, you wanted to purchase a pass for October, they were available as of 2 days ago on the 20th, and those will be available until the 10th of October for that month. Those passes provide you access to the regular bus, to ferry, as well as to Accessibus, and you can purchase these at most grocery stores and pharmacies, again, kind of like the tickets. So Sobeys, Superstore, Shoppers Drug Mart, Lawtons. And it's $82.50 per adult pass. And then the youth senior pass is $60. So these passes, you use them to, you show them to the transit operator when you're boarding the bus, and you don't have to put it in the coin slot. We also have X passes available for monthly passes, and these are the same as our regular monthly passes, but they also provide access to the regional express route. So that's the route 320, 330, and 370. These are a little bit more because of the distance that these routes cover. So it's $127.50 for the adult pass and $90 for the youth and senior pass for the X passes. Great. Moving on to transit safety. So there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind as you're boarding and disembarking from the bus. These are just some safety tips that we have for kind of suggesting how to stay safe when you're kind of getting on and off the bus. Tip number one is to never run for a bus. I know it's tricky sometimes if you're kind of just a few minutes late, but running for the bus could pose a safety issue for yourself or for other people maybe waiting for the bus. Don't get caught in the door. If it's slippery, if it's been raining, or if it's icy outside, it's possible that the floor of the bus could become slippery when wet. So always kind of take caution when getting on and off the bus so that you don't slip and fall. The operator at any time can lower the bus floor. So if you need assistance or if the bus kind of at its normal level is too high for you to get on or off, you can always request that the operator lower the bus so that you can step on and off onto the curb. And then always be mindful of walking in front of or behind a bus. So do try and stay clear, just like other vehicles. Always kind of watch if a bus is coming, and try to stay away from behind the bus just in case, because an operator can't always see you. So when you're on board the bus, some safety tips for the bus. Always make sure to hold or grab the rails that are available, especially if you're standing on the bus. As the bus is in motion, it is possible that you might kind of lose your balance or lose your footing. So holding onto the rails is really helpful for just kind of being able to stay standing if you are standing. Always make sure to keep the aisle clear. And this is important because as people are kind of getting on and off the bus, if there's any items that are in the aisle, this could, create a bit of a tripping hazard for people there. Remove bags from wheelchairs just while the bus is in motion. Stay behind the yellow line. So that yellow line is there to kind of give space for people to get on and off the bus, particularly on right now. So staying behind the yellow line gives space for people to get on as the bus makes its stops, and don't block the exit. So make it easy and accessible for people to get off the bus when it's time for them to do so. Okay, now moving on to the transit code. So these, the transit code is a code that's been developed by Halifax Transit to kind of promote etiquette for people who are on the bus or on the ferry as they're riding transit. So these are the kind of 8 components of the transit code, and these are sort of the things that we would encourage people to think about doing while they're riding transit to keep everyone feeling safe and comfortable when using transit. So the first one is to respect one another. Always be respectful to other people who are using transit, and always think about ways that we can practice kindness towards each other while we're using transit and in public spaces. Be inclusive. People who are using transit, everyone kind of has a different level of ability or different needs. So always make sure to kind of use transit in a way that doesn't preclude other people from also being able to be on the bus. So if you're sitting in one of the chairs kind of near the front, or one of the seats near the front, and someone with a different level of mobility needs to use those seats, then make space for people, or ensure that people can sit where they need to sit on transit. Mind each other's space and privacy. And so, kind of we encourage people to, respect other people's space and privacy as you would want your own space and privacy to be respected. Be safe for yourself and others. This transit is a public space, and so it's always good to practice keeping yourself safe and being mindful of other people's safety while on transit. And I think we have our other transit experts ready to go, so I will introduce Chris and Dave to finish off the rest of the presentation.
Hello. Are we good? Perfect. Hi. Sorry about that, everybody. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, as is common in these sort of situations. I'm Chris. I'm the outreach intern for Halifax Transit. This is Dave,
Customer Service Advisor, Transit.
Perfect. And also thank you to Eliza you were killing it there. Oh my God, I think you probably did a better job than I could have done. But I will take it from here. So as Eliza was explaining, the transit code is something that was more recently created by Halifax Transit to give people an idea of some of the 8 most important aspects of transit when it comes to being respectful and courteous and polite. Going through this whole technical thing, I'm not sure what Eliza went over, so I'll quickly go over all of these again. So we have respect one another. A lot of them like super easy to understand. Be inclusive, be aware of the differences of everybody who's on board. Be respectful and inclusive in that way. And Eliza already did all those ones, so I'll actually do the next one. We have don't litter or deface property. Another super easy one. There are no garbage cans on the bus, so if you do happen to have garbage with you, just keep it with yourself until you're able to get off the bus and find somewhere to dispose of it. Communicate calmly. I know that a lot of times you might be a dispute. You might be annoyed with somebody on the bus. Something might happen. but always remember that there are a lot of other people around you. In order to respect, their privacy and your own privacy, it's always good to communicate calmly. And that moves into the next principle: is be courteous and kind. We're all just trying to get through the day, go where we're going. So it's maybe just, be kind to the people around you. Also moves into the last one: honor equality, diversity, and the rights of all. See those around you as being other people, as you hope them to see you as just another person. So that gets to our next slide. Thank you. Passenger etiquette and courtesy. So I took these are actually listed on Halifax Transit website. If you would like to look at them yourself, it's easy to find, just halifax.ca/transit. And then there's all sorts of good things there. So let's start off with a brief overview. First one we have is let others off before you board the front of the bus. The big thing here: when you board a bus, you have to board from the front. So that's because that's where you have to, pay or show your pass. So if for whatever reason, if you have an accessibility issue and you also have to disembark from the front, just, be aware and let the other passengers board before you start to disembark. Just makes it easier for everybody. Next up is to give up priority seating. Buses on Halifax Transit have priority seating near the front of the bus. There's a little blue sign at the bottom here that indicates, it's for people with accessibility issues, maybe older individuals, individuals with small children, or whether or not they're pregnant. It's just a nice courtesy because those seats, closer to the front, so it's a lot easier for them. They won't have to walk to the back. Moving on from that. Leads into that. Always do move to the back when you're boarding a bus if you have the ability to. That way it makes it easier for people to walk by. If everybody's just at the front, it makes it harder for people to get back and forth, especially if you happen to be out in the aisle a little bit. Next up is keep bags and feet off the seats. It's a crazy notion, but the seats of the bus are actually just made for butts. So whenever possible, it's just respectful and courteous to ensure that you have your bags with you or on the floor in front of you, just so there's more room for other people to sit down. Next up is do not play music out loud or talk loudly. This falls into just being respectful as well. You're allowed to play music on the bus through headphones, and you are allowed to have conversations, but just being respectful and keeping those to a minimum, as maybe not everybody else on the bus is interested in hearing your conversations or listening to your Rihanna CD or what have you. Next up, avoid wearing strongly scented products. And I talked to Dave. He is, and this is actually a big one that there are often complaints about this sort of thing. That yeah, I'll let you.
Oh yeah, it's just a situation a lot of times that somebody might not like the aftershave or perfume that another passenger is wearing. Sometimes they have breathing issues, which is a real concern. The only thing is, though, we recommend, we advise, we ask people about, not wearing strong scents. The only thing is, this is not something we can police. We can't smell individual passengers and make a decision to let them on or not. That is something, unfortunately, we cannot do. So it's a recommendation, it's a request. It's almost like the transit code. This is something that we ask people, and it's a courtesy to do.
Yeah, exactly. Could have said better myself. And then second last, no eating or drinking on the bus. So this one's a little more complicated. Currently, during COVID, there's no eating or drinking at all. But in regular times, there's no eating at all, but there is drinking as long as it's in a spill-proof, sealable container. Not like, just a regular cup or something like that. That's just because you never know if you could spill something, has to be cleaned up, or, could spill on another passenger. And last but not least, a really big courtesy that I like to see whenever I'm on a bus is thanking the operator. Yeah, they are doing their job, but also it doesn't matter what your job is. When somebody thanks you for doing a good job, it feels really good. Yeah, so we move on to the next one. These are some other useful tips that I've just come up with myself as not just being an employee of Halifax Transit, but as a user of Halifax Transit. A big one is to show up to your stop 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled to arrive. So even if you're using one of the apps that uses the GPS on the buses, you never know what could happen in the moment. Bus traffic could be light, so a bus could be early. But if you're there 5 minutes early, you won't miss it. It's a good habit to try and keep doing. Next is ensure the operator driving up to the bus stop knows that you're waiting for them specifically. Because a lot of the times, especially at busy bus stops, where a lot of buses are going to be using that stop, not all bus operators know that, hey, you're there for them specifically. So a good thing to do is stand close to the curb as the bus is approaching. Obviously, not too close as to hurt yourself or fall off. Try and make eye contact with the bus operator if you can. Give a little wave, do whatever you do, a dance, maybe that'll help. I don't know. Things like that, just so they're aware that you're there for them, and you don't think they just missed you on purpose, because that's never something they'd want to do. After that is always have your fare ready before you board the bus. Another sort of courtesy thing is just smart to have it ready to go, so you're not fiddling through your wallet or whatever, trying to find your pass and then holding things up for the passengers behind you or the passengers already on the bus. Next is pay attention to the stop indicator screen and the automated stop announcement. So Halifax Transit buses are good that they, in terms of like an accessibility feature, they do have an automated voice that tells you the stop that's coming up, and a little screen that displays the name of the stop that's coming up. So it's good to pay attention to that, just so you're ready to pull the cord or press the button to indicate that you are requesting a stop, which moves on to the next one. Always remember that some people might not be aware you do actually have to pull the cord or press the button to indicate that you want the bus to stop at the approaching bus stop. I know sometimes, like, your first time, it could be embarrassing. You're like, is this real? Like, do I really have to do this? Yeah, and then the more times you do it, the less embarrassing it just is. Just like brushing your teeth, it's just part of the process. Last but not least, I see this often, and this used to happen to me a lot. If you go to, you press the button, you want to, exit the bus, and the door's not opening up. Some people will be impatient and start to get frustrated, but the best thing to do is just, be patient. And if you wave your hand in front of the bus, it'll actually automatically open up for you. Although if you do, for some reason, are struggling, the operator does have the ability to open the bus door for you as well. So next slide. Yes, and then so just a little bit more information. There are going to be sometimes, so there's service disruptions, there changes. In the winter, the routes go into snow plans if there's inclement, weather. Currently on Spring Garden, a lot of that is closed off for construction. So obviously there will be some detours happening, and sometimes there are accidents that just cause, detours or changes. So there's some good resources here. When in doubt, always call 311. Really for anything, if you're looking, to get help on, navigating the system, or you just want to know, like, hey, is there a detour somewhere? Are there service disruptions somewhere? They can give you almost all the information you might need. But if you'd like to, get it online, you can always go to halifax.ca/service-disruptions. That can give you a lot more of like the long-term service disruptions. Like I said about a Spring Garden construction detours, that would have that information there. And then if you really just want something quickly, Halifax Transit Twitter account, it's at HFX Transit. They'll constantly be putting updates in throughout the day whenever things arise. Then finally, even more information. If you want to find more information other than what you saw today in this webinar, or you just want to learn how to do a little bit more trip planning, always remember you can call 311 for everything. It's not even just transit, it's all like city related things. They know so much that you wouldn't imagine. And they're actually offered in over 150 languages, so very like inclusive. Don't feel scared, like like it's going to be hard for me. No, they do this on purpose to make it easy for everybody. And if you're if you're not into talking on the phone, that's completely fine. There is, again, halifax.ca/transit. A lot of that information is also there, easy to find. And as I already said, Halifax Transit Twitter, HFX Transit. It's another great place, another good resource for information. And with that, that is it. So I apologize one more time for the technical difficulties we were having at the beginning, and I'd like to thank Eliza for pulling through and really killing it there. And I really appreciate everybody who is here right now and who's interested in learning, how to ride transit in Halifax. And also thank you to Dina for also killing it as well. So now we'll be taking questions. If anybody has any questions or any more specific things that myself and Dave can answer, feel free to put them in the Q&A area. And also, if you would like to learn even more, next week our colleagues, and I'll be there as well, are doing a webinar on the Moving Forward Together plan. Those are the changes that are happening to certain routes in Halifax or Dartmouth, just Halifax.
Well, the plan was originally a 5-year plan, and every year or other year, depending on how it's set up, they focus on one area. One year could be Dartmouth, next year Cyclone, the next year downtown Halifax, etc.
Yeah, so we'll be coming here next week on the 29th, and then we'll just be answering questions and talking about that. I also have some YouTube videos that were created by Halifax Transit that take a lot of the information that you learned today, but condense it a little bit more, and it's more visual, that I can put here in the chat. Give me one second. Yeah, because one thing that we didn't really talk about today is that buses are actually equipped with bike racks on the front. So if you want to make your commute, a little bit more active, you can bike to a bus stop, get on the bus from there, put your bike on the front of the bus and go. And it's more specifically explained how to do that in some of these videos. So I'm just going to get those up now, and I can put the URL in the Q&A area. And then if you do need help thinking of specific questions, like an example question that I recently only found out the answer to the other day, was that, does Halifax Transit run on holidays? And that's something that Dave could be able to answer.
Holidays?
Yeah, so I know certain things are closed on holidays, but is Halifax Transit closed on holidays?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Pretty much all the conventional routes, they run basically on a holiday. They would run on a holiday schedule, which is typically a Sunday schedule. So if your bus route is on the schedule to run on Sundays, then there will be service on Sunday, but there also will be service on a holiday that mirrors the Sunday bus schedule. The exception of the ferry, the Woodside ferry doesn't run on the weekends. Unless there's a holiday, then it would be in a Sunday schedule, but they don't run on Sundays, so there would be no ferries on the holiday. But the Albany Landing ferry to Halifax will run on a Sunday schedule. They have their own specific holiday schedule. They have Monday to Sunday, but they also have a holiday schedule. Like I said earlier, the buses will run on a Sunday schedule normally if they run on Sundays. Excessive bus is the option. They always run.
Cool. And then we do have some other questions here in the chat. I'm just posting the links to the different YouTube videos as well. Are there electric buses?
Right now, I believe there were 2 originally bought years ago. We tested and used them. They weren't, how can I put it? The technology wasn't there yet. But we are at a phase right now. We are looking at buses. There's a plan in place. It was approved by council. There will be large purchases of buses, electric buses shortly. And the good thing is now that these buses will be able to take the test where it's long routes, long runs, up hills, etc. And there will be new charging stations going into our different depots in Rag Lake and Burnside.
Cool. I didn't even know all of that. For the other question, what measures is transit taking to keep passengers and operators safe during COVID measures? I do actually have a little bit of information about that here. So there's a lot. So I know that they're implementing the provincial mandatory mask order, and a lot of these will just be like bullet points because I think we're still learning a little bit. But they'll be blocking off. They are currently blocking off the first seat behind the driver on Nova buses, installing polycarbonate shield on conventional and excessive bus vehicles, providing all employees with appropriate PPE, safety equipment, and cleaning supplies to keep workspaces safe, as well as daily disinfecting and disinfecting of high-touch surfaces on buses and ferries by holster staff and ferry crew. So seems like a lot, yeah. And again, if you don't actually know how to ask a question, if you go to the top of the screen, there's a little, a little image with two speech bubbles with a question mark. If you click that, it should pull up on your right-hand side, like a little chat area where you can, put your own questions in. And if we could go to the front of the presentation, there might be a slide that shows that a little bit more specifically. While we do that, there is overnight back. There's another question. What tools are available for planning my trip? That's a really good question. There are a whole bunch of tools. It really depends on what you're looking for. So, like the big three things are calling 311. If you have, A and B, you call them. You're at A, you want to get to B, you want to get to, say I'm here at work. I want to get to Halifax Shopping Center, around 3 p.m. If I call 311, they can help me actually route that out and tell me, which buses to take, which bus stops to be at what time. It's a really good one if you're not really big into technology. You don't want to use the apps, or you just you're not about that. So that's a good one. On the similar side of that, there are the apps that were mentioned sort of at the beginning. There's Google Maps, Apple Maps, which are usually built into most smartphones, whether they're Android with Google Maps or Apple with Apple Maps, as well as the Transit app itself. It's that little green app. That's personally the one I use. It's my favorite because it's made for transit. So you just put in, you put in your destination and you can find a bunch of lines there. For example, when I go to work, I put it in, I know that line number 8 and number 7 will get me here different times. That's a really good resource. You can also use that one just to see different lines in different areas. So like, if I know next week I'm gonna be at the Micmac Mall around 3 and I wanna know, okay, around 3, I'm gonna be leaving there, I can put in Micmac Mall and I can put the date for, next Tuesday at 3 p.m. and see what lines will be available there. That's a really cool one. And their website has a lot of information on how to use that app specifically. So it's just Transit app. If you Google that or look it up, super easy to find. It's a little green one. And then on the very other end of the spectrum are rider's guides and route maps, which are available at public libraries, bus terminals, customer service centers. How do you talk more about those?
Oh yeah, they're available basically pretty much all the retailers, or a lot of the retailers are pharmacies and such in the area. Most places where you buy tickets, passes, etc., will have riders' guides and maps. The libraries, like Chris said, the different areas. You can use the riders' guides and map. It's an old school way to do it, but it's once you're used to it, it's a breeze. You take a look at the maps. All the routes on the maps are color coded and numbered. So if you see on the map you live here and you want to be here on this day at this time, you can take a look at the map. It'll say, let's say the 72 route is the best route for you. Then you look at the rider's guide for the matching day, it's Monday to Friday or a weekend, and then you take a look at the times when it departs and when it arrives to your destination. That'll plan out your route, and you can do the same thing in reverse when you want to go back.
Yeah, super easy. We have some more questions. Can I take my pet on the bus? So from what I understand, you cannot take a pet on the bus, but the buses do allow service animals,
Well, there's two things you can do with pets. One is the service animal, of course. Those are approved service animals that you can take in a bus, which is a little different than a companion animal or a therapy animal. Normally, service animals go through a program. They're very well trained. Transit feels confident that there's enough training that that animal will not, do something in a bus to another passenger. The other option is if you need to take your pet, let's say a cat or a smaller dog, to the vet, you can transport that on a bus or on a ferry as long as it's in a carrier. It has to be a steel carrier so the animal can't get out.
That makes sense. Pretty simple. Another question we have here. Can I use my transfer to get on one of the express buses, 330 or 370? That is Davey.
You can, but normally there's an extra $1 fee unless you have a bus pass that's for that route. They're a little more expensive, and if you're only traveling that route, it's great. That bus pass will allow you to ride on any bus. Your regular, let's say, adult bus pass will allow you to travel on any bus except for the e-books that were mentioned, and then you would have to show your pass and then pay an extra $1.
Okay, actually now I have a question, and I've gotten you to explain this to me before, but when you buy a monthly bus pass, it explained that they're available until the 10th, and then you can buy them until the 20th. Can you explain a little bit more about what that means?
Sure thing. When it comes to a bus pass, if you're looking at buying one every month, for example, people like that to go to work, whatnot, use it every month, they tend to buy them sometimes ahead of time. So the bus passes are available on the 20th of the previous month. So right now we're in September. So you can buy a bus pass for October from the 20th of September up to the 10th of October. And the reason we cut it off on the 10th of October is if you buy a bus pass for October, then it might be more worth it if you buy bus tickets instead of bus pass. So the retailers will have them available for the next month from the 20th to the 10th.
Okay, now I understand, I think. So just from October, it's currently September 22nd. So I can no longer buy, or no, now I can start buying October passes 2 days ago.
Yeah, you could have started buying it from the 20th of September.
Okay.
Right through until the 10th of October.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. A few more questions. This first one I don't know as much about. I'm still learning. But can you talk a bit about how the low-income bus passes, how they work, and how do people apply for those?
There's a link on our webpage at halifax.ca for the affordable program or low-income transit pass program. It takes a look at, you need to fill in the application, send it in with your notice of assessment from Revenue Canada. If you make below a certain amount and everything checks out on the application, you're approved for the program, which means you can buy the adult bus passes at 50% of the cost. What you need to do, you can only buy these passes at one of the 2 customer contact centers, which would be the one at Albany and the one at Bears Lake. You go in, you tell them their name, they look you up on the list, they may ask you for a piece of ID, and then they sell you the bus pass at half the price. And that's good for, I believe it's up to a year, and then you have to reapply the following year. And the reason for that is your income may have changed.
And on even that note, I have a link I can share here that gives you actually a lot more information. Let me just copy that.
And the application can be found at this link as well.
Yeah, for the affordable bus pass program. And even if, I don't know if these links will be available after the fact, but the biggest thing that I would do is just Google Halifax Transit, affordable, I guess, low income transit pass program.
Or affordable access program, I think.
Yeah, just use the keywords affordable, low income transit pass and program, and it should be good. So we have more questions here. just get these up. So to what age are children able to ride the bus for free? This, I know, it's until 12, right? Yeah, so free transit for children 12 and under, and then it's 13 to 17 is where it's a little cheaper.
13 to.
We do have a slide on here that does explain the prices for that. It would be $2, and then 18 to 64 is adults, $2.75.
Sorry, folks, I'm not at my computer, but yeah, I think for the youth, it's 13 to 18, and then after that, you're considered an adult until you're basically after you're 64, so 65 and up would be seniors.
Mm-hmm. Do this, but it's more complicated. There's another question here that I'll answer first. So is there a time that seniors can ride free? Yes, Tuesdays between, I did know this, I think it's 6:30 to 3.
Yeah, it's somewhere around 6:30 to 3, and then basically it's during non-rush hour periods, which would be coming up in a second there. We're just going in right now.
Yeah, so it's free for people aged 65 and older. Tuesday, seniors can travel free of charge from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and after 6 p.m. on conventional buses, ferry services, and including community transit. So then that would mean that off-peak hours would be, 10:30 to 3:30 or 10 3:30.
Yeah, normally anything before 10 would be considered rush hour, people getting to work, and anything between 3:30 and 6 would be the rush hour, people coming back from work, school, etc.
Easy. And then a few more minutes left. This question, can you talk a bit about the Youth Bus Pass pilot program for high school students? Yes. That's a pilot project that is being put on by the planning customer engagement team. And I guess it was approved by council back in May 2021. It's for 4 schools that are in the pilot. It's Prince Andrew High School in Dartmouth, Dartmouth High School in Dartmouth, École du Sommet, and École Mosaic. So the whole point of the program essentially is to see sort of what difference it makes to give high school students, free transit passes, because there are a lot of benefits to, students starting to use public transportation at a young age. It makes them better users as they, get older. They're more familiar with the safety protocols, with, the courtesy, essentially everything I talked about today, like, the policies and guidelines, the etiquette. It's a big benefit getting exposed to that at an early age. So as they grow up, they're more familiar with it, and they're younger generations, so they'll have children, they'll be using transit. And yeah, becoming more experienced, becoming more confident with using Halifax Transit. Yeah, and then I guess the whole goal of this is that if it goes well, and it becomes evaluated and it's all great and it's working, the ultimate goal of the program is to offer unlimited transit service to students at more schools across the municipality that are well served by Halifax Transit. And it will actually be launched very, very, very soon, fall 2021, in coordination with CSAP and HRCE in accordance with public health requirements. But do stay tuned because there will be more information coming as the time goes on.
I just want to add one thing. I'm getting some questions from people about the program, and one key thing is if a student, or I should say the criteria that's used to approve a student for a pass is based on the school, not transit.
Yes.
Because I do get parents that will call in and say, the school didn't approve my child, can you approve it? And the answer is no, I have to refer back to the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and currently it is just those 4 schools. It's a lot easier to do a pilot program with a condensed sample size. So yeah, very excited. One last question I see here. Can you talk about the potential Bedford ferry? When can we expect to start taking the ferry? I don't know what, I don't know anything personally about that yet. I know there has been information, there is information online about the plan for that, which is part of the whole rapid transit plan as well over the next some years.
Yeah, I'm not 100% up to date on the specifics right now, but if you want to send me an email at boudred@halifax.ca, or look me up if you're with the city, look me up via email. That's just David Boudreau at halifax.ca.
Yeah.
Or boudred@halifax.ca. Dave Woodrow, if you're doing the search, I'm in there. Send me whatever you have, and I'll respond back as quick as possible.
And would that be something as well they could contact 311 about?
Yes, they can call 311, put in the question specifically. What would happen is myself and my colleague would see that. We would send it off to the planning department. They would give us the information, because like anything else, we're generalists. We don't know everything about everything. That's why there's experts in different departments. We would send it to that department for feedback and get back to you.
Perfect. And I just, yeah, I can actually put the emails in the chat right here. So what's the email? Sorry again, Dave.
boudred@halifax.ca.
Halifax.ca. Just make it easier if you missed that. Feel free to give Dave email with your questions. And I do have a little bit more information about the ferries. So I know that the Mill Cove ferry, that would be Bedford, right?
Yep.
Cool, still learning. The Mill Cove ferry was actually one of the 3 routes proposed last year in the city's rapid transit strategy, which aims to improve Halifax's transit system with rapid bus and ferry routes. Phase 1 completion is expected by March 2022, which will cover preliminary studies, including conceptual designs for the vessels and terminals. There's more information. There's a link to an article that was done by the Coast that I will also put in the chat right here. That's exciting. And so we have a few more minutes left. We have another question. Oh, how do you decide where to put bus stops? That is beyond me.
Yeah, with the bus stops, it's decided once they've determined a route. Let's say it's going to be a new route. There is a guide that tells us what walking distance we have to have between bus stops. So it's a kind of a situation where we don't want you to walk for 2 miles to the next bus stop. So there is and this would be the planning people. If you need the specific information, send me an email or 311. I can give you the exact answer. But generally, there is an acceptable walking distance between bus stops, and that's where we put the stops.
That makes sense. So the last few minutes, 2 minutes. If there are no more questions, again, if there's anything, it's always good to call 311. And if you want more information on how to ride transit or where to find those videos, again, if you go to halifax.ca/how-to-ride-transit, HOWTORIDETRANSIT, that will have links to the videos as well as the How to Ride Transit pamphlet, a virtual version of that, where you can scroll through and read a lot more information. So, doing a last call for questions. And if there are no more questions, again, we appreciate everybody coming out, and I will be here again next week with my other colleagues to be talking about the Moving Forward Together plan. Those are the changes that will be coming in November. We'll just be giving an overview, telling you where you can find more information, answering questions. Yeah, so really exciting stuff. Really hope that you can all come out to that as well. So thank you all again for coming so much, and I hope that this was very informative.